The Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 is a great flip phone that gives you the best Samsung's mobile might in a package that's innovative and polished. To say it's an improvement over past Galaxy flip phones would be an understatement. This is the flip I have been asking Samsung to make for years. It's not quite the best flip phone you can buy, but that's because flip phones have gotten really good, and the Galaxy Z Flip 7 makes a perfect argument for why flip phones may be today's best form factor. Think about it, what's better than a flip foldable? The Galaxy Z Flip 7 has a huge screen, the same 6.9 inches as the mighty Galaxy S25 Ultra, but it's smaller and lighter in every way, even before you fold it in half. And instead of the Ultra's questionable S Pen, the Flip 7 gives you a whole second screen to use. On top of that, it costs $200 less than an Ultra. Flip phones just make too much sense, so what's stopping them from being more popular? First, there is the durability question. The 7th generation of Samsung's flip phones still can't keep dust out, though it can handle being dunked in water thanks to its IP48 rating. Second, there are sacrifices required to make a folding phone, and the cameras are a downgrade from other Galaxy phones. This year's Galaxy Z Fold 7 got a 200 main megapixel camera, but the Flip 7 keeps its 50 megapixel cameras on the back. There is no zoom, only wide and ultra wide. A 200 megapixel sensor would have elevated the disappointment of not having a 3x telephoto lens or better. Finally, the battery takes a hit with the Galaxy Z Flip 7, maybe too big of a hit. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 doesn't last long enough. I think this is more of a Samsung problem than a flip phone problem, because the Moto Razr Ultra offers great battery life, though it is marginally thicker and heavier than the Galaxy Z Flip 7. It's impossible to avoid comparing the Flip 7 to the Motorola Razr Ultra, which is the biggest competitor. Samsung should be thrashing the Razr, but Motorola has been consistently eating Samsung's lunch in the flip phone cafe. With the Flip 7, Samsung finally catches up to the Motorola on the cover display. Its cover display doesn't just fill the front of the phone, it features the thinnest bezels Samsung has ever used on a Galaxy phone screen. The Flip 7 can also, albeit with some difficulty, use every app on the cover display. You can navigate with all Trails maps, watch some TikTok, and play Vampire Survivors without opening the phone. Still, as Samsung takes a big leap forward, Motorola continues its slow and steady pace as the flip phone frontrunner. Today's Razr Ultra is faster than the Galaxy Z Flip 7 in every way. The processor is faster, games run faster, the screen refreshes faster, the battery even charges faster. Does all of the speed matter? Yes, but some folks will appreciate Samsung's deep features set and customization options more than a bit of extra speed. Samsung's One UI 8 is a powerhouse, especially if you mix business and pleasure on your smartphone. The Flip 7 also ships with Android 16, and this is the first time Samsung Foldable buyers haven't had to wait for an upgrade to the latest version of Android. Samsung promises 7 years of major Android updates and security patches, more than any competitor except Google. It has a good track record of delivering on such promises, while many Motorola fans are still waiting for promised updates for past Razr phones. It is time to consider a flip phone? Absolutely, as you have probably noticed, I am a fan of flip foldables, and the Flip 7, with its versatile cover display, rock-solid design, and hefty set of features, offers more value than the sum of its parts. In fact, I think most people would appreciate the Flip 7 with its unique benefits more than other phones that don't make the small sacrifices. Ask yourself, does your phone need the tiny zoom camera? Wouldn't you rather have a phone you can slap shut and slip in your front pocket? And I use the cover display on my Galaxy Z Flip 7 far more than I use the S Pen on my Galaxy S25 Ultra. I am rooting for flip phones, and the Galaxy Z Flip 7 is an exceptional flip for serious smartphone users. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 starts at $1,099, which is the same price as last year's Z Flip 6. The price seems reasonable to me considering that you are getting two displays for the price of one, plus glass that bends in half like a dang magic trick. Galaxy Z Flip phones used to seem pricey, but the rest of the phone world has slowly crept up to meet Samsung. And now $1,099 actually seems fair, especially if you are getting this phone from your carrier with a steep discount. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 costs more than an iPhone 16 Pro and less than an iPhone 16 Pro Max. It costs the same as a Google Pixel 9 Pro XL or Samsung's new and thin Galaxy S25 Edge. Most importantly, the Flip 7 costs less than the new Motorola Razr Ultra 2025 in the US, where the Razr Ultra starts at $1,299. At launch, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 only comes in 4 colors, while last year's Flip 6 was available in 7 hues. Mint and color red are exciting. Jet black and blue shadow are more staid. I wish Samsung would try something unique with its materials and finish, but it likes to dress the entire product family in the same sweater for holiday portraits, so all the Galaxy phones look alike finish-wise. While Samsung admitted that the Galaxy Z Flip 7 would use its own Exynos 2500 processor instead of the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy found in every other flagship Galaxy phone this year, it was like a record scratch moment from a comedy show. Rumors suggest this would have been the CPU inside every Galaxy S25 phone, but Samsung changed its plan late in the game on those phones. Instead, this new Samsung chip debuted in the Galaxy Z Flip 7. The display is bigger this year, up to 6.9 inches for the internal display from 6.7 inches last year, and the phone is 4mm wider to accommodate this. Otherwise, the specs are mostly unchanged from the Flip 6, 12GB of RAM, a 50MP wide camera, and a 12MP ultra-wide, Wi-Fi 7, Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back cover. The battery is larger this year, but maybe not as big as it needs to be. After years of me complaining that the Galaxy Z Flip wasn't using enough of its cover space for the front screen, Samsung finally listened. The 4.1-inch screen on the front of the Galaxy Z Flip 7 takes up every possible inch. Samsung says it has the thinnest bezel ever on a Galaxy phone. The Flip 7's cover screen looks like the future of phone displays, and I am excited for the internal screen to catch up with a bezel this slim. Otherwise, the phone is a standard 2025 Galaxy model. It has flat sides with the power and volume buttons on the right. The power key acts as an effective fingerprint scanner, though it's more recessed than the power button on other Galaxy phones, and it was hard to find in the dark. I could rave about the new cover display again, but I will start with the impressive inner screen because the Galaxy Z Flip 7 has been very satisfying to use thanks to this exceptionally bright and clear AMOLED. It was always a joy to open even in bright outdoor light. Don't worry about the crease on the inner screen, it's completely invisible when you are using the phone, and it never bothered my fingers when I was swiping across the screen. After all these years, it still feels like a magic trick to fold a piece of glass in half, and it still shocks friends who haven't seen a Flip Foldable in person before. The Galaxy Z Flip 7's cover display is, as I have mentioned, also spectacular. The ultra-thin bezels make it seem to disappear, and you get plenty of room to work with apps and widgets on the 4.1-inch space. It's a great improvement to the Flip phone, and one I have been impatiently waiting to see. If you want a smartphone you can tweak and customize to your heart's content, get a Samsung phone. If you prefer something simpler, you can still grit your teeth and ignore most of the settings, the pop-up features, and the extra steps required to make things work. How bad is Samsung software? Take the cover display for example. On the Motorola Razr, when you are using an app and you close the phone, the app shows up on the cover display. That's simple and intuitive. On the Galaxy Z Flip 7, Not even close. To use an app on the front screen, you have to find the setting to enable apps on the cover display. This isn't in the cover display setting menu, it's in a menu called Advanced Settings and then Labs. Labs, can you imagine a more frightening way to hide a crucial feature? Why not just calling it Dungeon? And once you find Labs, you have only gotten started. You can enable a few pre-selected apps to work on the cover display, Maps, Messages, Netflix, or you can download another widgets called Multistar from the Galaxy App Store. Multistar creates a home screen that lives on your cover display, and on that screen you can add any app on your phone. On the cover, you swipe to the Multistar screen and tap the app you want to open. Unfortunately, you can't set any of these up on the cover display itself. You can't even add widgets to the cover display without opening the phone. It feels like Samsung is still getting the hang of this whole cover display thing, but the Flip 7 is its best effort yet. Aside from those issues, I have many questions about Samsung's AI strategy. The company has a habit of talking up features that even never materialize. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 was supposed to have a special version of Google Gemini that could talk to me live while the flip screen was half closed. But I haven't been able to find a mode that works that way. Samsung's now brief home screen widgets and app is also a key selling point for its AI features, but it is truly a useless bit of software. It never offers me more than the weather and the first few appointments on my company calendar, which are always people who scheduled a day off. Samsung promised that this now brief and its Galaxy AI features would offer highly personalized information as the AI gets to know you through your Samsung devices and uses behavior. I carry multiple Samsung phones and wear a Galaxy Watch Ultra, and I have never seen anything personalized for my interests of habits. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 has a good set of cameras that took photos I enjoyed sharing. Images taken with Samsung cameras usually pop with bright colors and a highly sharpened look, but I have noticed on the last couple of phones that Samsung has been toning down this artificial look for a more natural photography style closer to what the iPhone produces. I am all for it. Don't worry, Samsung fans, you still get photos that look great, especially if you opt for Samsung's specialized modes. Samsung's portrait mode is probably the best on any smartphone. It isolated my subject neatly and blurred the background for a gorgeous look. Samsung's food mode is by far the best camera phone mode for taking food photos. I reach for my Galaxy phone whenever I bake something tasty and I want to share it. Samsung's AI editing features are also the best I have used on any smartphone. When you cut an unwanted person or object out of your photo, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 does a perfect job of filling in the gaps. If there are floors, board, or vertical blinds behind them, it fills this in seamlessly. Of course, the Galaxy Z Flip 7's coolest camera trick is letting you use the cover display as your viewfinder for photos. You can take selfies at the full 50 megapixel resolution when you point the main camera at yourself and use the cover display. You can also set the phone in an interesting position, way down low or hanging from up high, and then take shots with voice commands or by signaling the camera with a wave. My only complaint is that lack of a real zoom lens. I have a kid who plays sport and the digital zoom isn't good enough to capture him on the field. If you take photos from far away often, you will miss the lack of real zoom. Maybe Samsung should try a zoom camera instead of an ultra-wide on the Flip 8. Here are some camera samples of the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7. In my real-world tests, the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 performed well. I used it for a variety of complex tasks, including running two apps with one at top and other at the bottom of the inner screen, and plugged the phone into my monitor for the full Samsung DeX treatment. I like Samsung DeX because I have all of my work accounts for email, Slack and Google Drive on my phone, so when I use my phone I don't need to log in again as I do when I use my laptop. I just plug my phone into my USB-C laptop dock and get a little bit of work done, then unplug and go. Samsung Z Flip 7 was great at this, and I'm happy to see DeX on the Flip 7 after missing it on last year's Flip 6. That said, in benchmark tests, it's clear that the Samsung Exynos 2500 lags behind the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite, and it's a shame that the Flip 7 and Galaxy Z Fold 7 run on different platforms. In our lab tests, the Exynos 2500 did not beat the Galaxy S25's Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy platform in a single test. Not processor speed, graphics performance, web browsing, AI and machine learning tests, nor any other benchmark we run. In every way, the Exynos 2500 is inferior to the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Worst of all may be the chip's power consumption, which I'll get into the next section. Samsung isn't doing itself any favors by ditching one of the best mobile platforms I have ever used, the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and I hope it doesn't ever make the same mistake again. The Galaxy Z Flip 7 usually lasted a full day in my testing unless I used it extensively for taking and editing photos or playing games. On camera testing days, I needed to charge up to keep it going until bedtime. It could have been worse, but I wonder if the cover display makes a difference. After all, there were plenty of times when I used the cover when I might have used the full screen on a normal phone, and the inner screen certainly draws more power than the half-sized cover display. The reason I was pessimistic about the battery life was the Galaxy Z Flip 7's poor showing in our lab battery testing. The Flip 7 has a batteries that 300 mAh larger than the cell in the Galaxy Z Flip 6, but it only delivers about 90 minutes more runtime in our rundown tests. Compare that to the Motorola Razr Ultra, which uses the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset. The Razr Ultra has a battery that's 400 mAh larger than the Galaxy Z Flip 7's, but in our tests, it lasted almost 6.5 hours longer than the Galaxy Z Flip 7. The Z Flip 7 died in just under 12.5 hours in our tests, while the Razr Ultra lasted almost 19 hours. I have to assume that Snapdragon is sipping power compared to Samsung's Exynos chip, and that's why the Razr Ultra lasts so much longer with only a slightly larger battery. Motorola's displays are just as bright and actually pack more pixels, which means they would draw more power. If it isn't the display saving electricity, it must be the chipset. In the end, while not absolutely perfect, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 represents a major step forward for Samsung's pocket-sized foldable series. The compromises are smaller to the point where they are easy to ignore. It's a great all-rounder, has a much better covered screen, better camera performance, and an internal screen that's not too narrow. I really like it. You could argue that Motorola Razr 60 Ultra makes better use of the cover screen, and I'd agree with that assessment, but with the build quality, display quality, software optimizations, and improved cameras, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 is much closer to competing with Motorola's Super Clamshell. And in some ways, it's actually better. This is a wonderful phone and one that's a joy to use.